Okay, so we're going to look at the version from Mark's perspective. It's going to be Mark chapter 7, verse 24 through 30. And from thence he arose and went into the borders of Tyre and Sidon, and entered into an house, and would have no man know it. But he could not be hid. For a certain woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him, and came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, Syrophoenician by nation, and she besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. And Jesus said unto her, Let the children first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it unto the dogs. Verse 28. And he answered and said unto him, and she answered and said unto him, Yes, Lord, yet the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. And he said unto her, For this saying, go thy way, the devil is gone out of thy daughter. So it was a little bit different from Mark's perspective. I mean, it was the same scenario with the woman, but it was a little bit different. Let's talk on your the amplified version of Matthew chapter 15, verse 20, starting with verse 21.
All right. So after leaving there, Jesus withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon.
Mm-hmm.
And a Canaanite woman from that district came out and began to cry out urgently, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, Messiah. My daughter is cruelly possessed by a demon.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not say a word in answer to her.
Okay, stop right there. This is what I kind of toiled with. I couldn't stand when, and to this day, I mean, it doesn't really bother me as much, but I'm like, Lord, that couldn't have been me, because I got an issue with your silence. And, I'm just being real with it.
Mm-hmm.
When me and my husband have a discussion, especially early on in our marriage, we had discussions, and I couldn't stand the silence, because the silence make me feel like you're not acknowledging me, you're not hearing me, and that's a problem for me.
Yes.
And then when I saw it here, when I read it, I'm like, Lord, is that what you just did? You just didn't answer her, and you kept right on. This ain't kept right on walking.
Yes.
He kept right on walking. I'm like,
as if he hadn't heard a thing.
I said, but if you go back, I think about, and God always brings stuff to my remembrance, which I'm so glad, because I'll be throwing shade all day. But I was like, when my kids were little, when they were, Mommy, sometimes I act like I just didn't even hear them until I know what I told you, or he didn't tell her something, but God, I feel, wanted her to get to that place where she was able to, she knew, like, I know these idol gods that I'm worshiping. Now, she didn't say that. The Bible left that out, didn't say that part. But I'm just imagining, what I was raised with, these idol gods that I was worshiping, that's not working for me. My child is over here vexed with this devil. And I heard about what Jesus, what he can do. And she came running because she didn't care. First of all, we always looking for other people's approval.
Yeah.
I know that's where I've been at one point in my life, and I pray I don't never go back to that part, because when I see it approaching, I'm like, I'm not wanting your approval, and your approval doesn't even matter. It's what God says.
Yes.
And I know what he can do. And she heard about what he can do. So it's like, I don't care. She even got to the point where she was on her knees. Somebody she didn't worship. Yep. She heard about his goodness. She heard about his grace. She heard about what he did for other people. Well, I know he's the only one. These idol gods that I'm worshiping, this ain't gonna help me. This can't help me. I don't know how long her child has been vexed. The Bible don't say how long her child's been vexed. All we know is she vexed with a demon. And I know that ain't my child. That's a demon that's on my child. And the only person that can save my child I know is Jesus.
Yes.
That's the only person.
Exactly.
So I just thought that was a intricate part about that, because how he didn't speak, how he didn't say a word. And I thought about how when I asked God certain things throughout my life, and I'm thinking back on some things of the things that I've been through, and I'm like, even with this vision God showed me about doing this, and I said, well, he ain't answered. He ain't said this. All he did was show me and say, I'm like, well, what do you do when God is silent?
Exactly.
So she kept on.
Yeah.
And I believe that God allows things to happen. God puts what we call stumbling blocks in our way. So it's not to keep us from him, but she didn't care what was in front of her. She was getting over. No doubt it was other people surrounding him, because the disciples talking about, send her away.
Yeah.
Why she asking after us? And I'm like, she didn't care nothing about them being there. She had like she didn't even hear them. And she had a conversation like, look, my daughter's vexed with the demon. I need your help. Help me. And she got even to the point where she kneeled down. She didn't care about embarrassment. She didn't care about her knees getting dirty. She didn't care about her clothes. All she cared about is my child is home vexed.
Exactly. I need your help, Lord.
And that's what she said. I need your help. I don't care nothing. And for somebody, and we have these. I'm thinking about, as a kid, people have their own little entourage, a little crowd or whatnot. And I'm thinking about, you always got that one in the crowd. Yeah, send her away. Let's do away with her,
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, the disciples were like that, send her away, And it was like, who is she? Like, we're not here for you, basically.
Yeah.
That could have been one of the things that they were thinking. But I like how Jesus, how he did it. He just kept right on walking. And you know what she did? It caused her to draw near.
Exactly.
And that's what I believe. That was a big part for me. Even though we don't hear the answer when we desire to hear the answer, even if we don't hear the answer we want to hear, I think it's important for us to always get closer.
Exactly.
And I think that's what Jesus wants. Yeah. And that's what he wanted from her. God desires to use us how he sees fit. And I know, I feel without a shadow of a doubt that she will never, that's a moment that woman will never
be the same.
Forget. Yeah. And even them idol worshipers that whatever she's did her whole life, and with him telling her, go home, you healed, your daughter's going to be healed. And she went home and her daughter was delivered. Yeah. And she knew if he said she healed. She healed.
It was it.
She knew she was healed. Nothing. Exactly. She went home and her daughter was healed. And I know that from that moment, I know she turned.
Exactly. I just can't see any other way. And her daughter.
Exactly. Turn from whatever you were serving, whatever idol gods or whatever idol worshipers you were worshiping, anything you exalted above God.
Exactly.
She just was like, we ain't doing this, we ain't doing that, we ain't doing that. And I was just stuck on the silence of God. So what do you do when God is silent?
You just keep praying until you feel like he has heard you. Because I've thought about that. So when I was reading and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I can remember plenty of times in my life where I'm like, Lord, do you
hear me, Lord?
Do you hear me? I mean, I've been praying, but there's nothing seems to be changing. This situation is still here, and I'm trusting in you, and I'm telling you I'm trusting in you, but nothing has changed. It seems like everything is still the same. Am I doing something wrong? Or do I need to do something different? If I need to do something different, show me what I need to do. But I can't move until you tell me to move. That type of situation. That's how I felt, right? And then I got to the point where in those situations, I was just like, okay, well, maybe remembering that everything is in God's timing. Right. So just because he's silent doesn't mean that he doesn't hear me.
That part. And it don't mean he's not working.
It doesn't mean he's not working. He hears me. It's just he's moving his way. Because I think a lot of times we get caught up thinking that God's supposed to move whenever we want him to move.
That's right.
And if he don't move, it ain't a God. And all this type of stuff. Sometimes we have to be patient because God tells us we have to be patient.
That's right.
Fruits of the Spirit. So we have to be patient and just wait for him to answer our prayers. And at the end of the day, sometimes I feel that
Mhm.
sometimes we also have to realize that every now and then our prayers will not technically be answered, especially in the way that we think they should be.
Well, I'm gonna say we want to be ready for whatever, and we want to prepare. You just prepare yourselves. It's like, for me, I'm gonna just say on a real note, like, don't ask me if you don't want the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Exactly.
so
that part too.
when you come to God, and I'm not God, but when you come to God, it's like you come to Jesus and say, God, I need such and such. Okay, so he may not have answered you right then, but I really believe he's going to give you the answer. Whether you want to hear what that answer is, or maybe you hear the answer, but you don't want to accept that answer that you heard. You get what I'm saying? Or you like, you already got your own preconceived notion, your own answer that you want it to be because of your feelings. And what you really want, technically, what your flesh really wants.
Yeah.
It ain't what you know, so we'll pray, God heal such and such, or God, can you take this away? But it's not necessarily, sometimes I believe it's not necessarily for him to take that away. Yeah. Because that thing is what's keeping you drawn to him. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And that may not be everybody's story. That may just be some people's story. With certain situations, I know with certain situations, certain things, God, I just feel like, I mean, I had it for this long. He ain't gonna take certain things away because it keeps me close to him. Exactly. Like white on rice.
If everything is all peachy.
Why would you need him? Why? You wouldn't need him. And we should always, I'm gonna be honest with you, we should always be desperate.
We should be. Because when we get lax, that's whenever we start losing things, meaning like losing things spiritually.
Yeah.
You know, piece by piece by piece, because we just going on about life and we acting as if we don't need God, and then we next thing you know, we ain't praying.
And you feeling like you can do it on your own. I got this. No, you ain't got nothing. You don't. He said, I'm nothing without him.
Exactly.
Who are we?
Yep.
So I just think it's important that, you know, that's what I really got from this, the silence of God. It's important to know that sometimes God is going to be silent. And even in that silence, I think it's important for us to still keep working.
Exactly.
To still keep going on and doing what we're supposed to be doing. And God, that's what the Holy Spirit is there for, to guide us. And he guides us. He don't tell us 2.3 miles down the road, turn right. Half a mile, then you're going to turn left. And then you're going to try to find an easy way out. Because you're going to be like, you're going to size it up. You're going to be like, you know what, that's too far. I'm going to go the back way. I'm not going that way. But he wants you to go his way. And sometimes in going his way, what he chooses to do is blind you. And I know that's something that he has to do with me often, is blind me. Because Monica going to find a back door. Monica going to find a microwave. I don't want a crock pot. It's taking too long for the crock pot. I'm hungry and I'm ready to eat right now. I'm just being transparent because that's who Monica is. And God like, you're going to try to weasel yourself. Girl, you're going to end up on the floor again. Yes. On the floor. It's like, we got that thing, you know, between us that have gone to the Be Your On Purpose experience, you know, what we've, you know, it wasn't the Be Your On Purpose experience. It was our little experience that we had in the hotel within itself about, you still on the flow? Are you still on the flow? Okay, I'm going to get off the flow and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do the right thing. But sometimes I still find myself on the flow.
Yep.
But I'm not finding myself on the flow as often as I used to. I'm going to just say that. That's a good thing. Because I was even in the line buying a book, knowing good and well I wasn't going to read that book. Yeah. On the flow. That was about what? Almost 2 years ago. It don't even seem like it's been that long, does it?
No, it don't. But it's been a little while.
But I think it's important that we take advantage of the desperate moments in our life. Yes. But not just take advantage of the desperate moments. Also take advantage of every moment. You know, don't have our moments to look like, oh, that's minute, or that's a small moment, so we're not gonna worry about that. No, every moment that we interact with God is an important moment. I think it was very important to hear about the Canaanite woman with her communication. That's what, I mean, she could have let him just keep walking.
Exactly, but she didn't.
Because I imagine myself back in them days. See, with me, it's like a movie. So I put myself in that frame. I'm like, I'm imagining like myself in her shoes.
I know I couldn't have did that. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be that desperate for my kid, but I would have probably lost focus on that disciple that spoke out saying after her. And I know me with my little crazy self. I would say, "Who you? I'm not even talking to you." That's what I would have said. But and I would have went left, and then my child would probably would have dead somewhere. So it was for the Canaanite woman to do what she did. And what I thought was important was when we talked about drawing near to God, John, I was reading this morning, John 15:5, where it talks about God saying that he is divine and we are the branch. Without that vine, what do you have? That's your supply line. He is.
That keeps us connected.
That's your vital, yes. That's your supply that keeps you. And to be honest with you, with her communication, that's what kept it going. That's what caused her daughter to be healed. And it was a worship. It was a prayer. I mean, she worshiped. The Bible says she worshiped. She knelt and worshiped at him. And it was, and I think it's important to know how you come to God.
Yeah.
And keeping that, we have to keep, like your body needs oxygen, to stay alive, for your organs, the inside to do what it does to keep us living. Well, it's important for us to keep that connection between us and God, which is communication, which is prayer, which is worship, which is reading his word. I'm pretty sure she did all that, after the fact, but she know what she did at that moment. It worked.
Exactly.
It worked for her. And I think the same God that worked for her is the same God I know that works for us. So I found something. It was in Romans chapter 3:23. It says that everyone has sinned and fallen short of God's glory standard. No one serves God. No one deserves God's grace. I know what I've done and even what I might do in the future. I don't deserve his grace.
Exactly.
But he gives it to us. He freely gives each and every one of us his grace.
Yes.
And that's what he showed the disciples. That's what he showed them. And he didn't just say it. He showed it.
Yeah.
He displayed it.
Exactly.
He put it on display before everybody that was there. And I read a little bit further, which I me, I'm a seer. I read a little bit further, and I even thought about this story, about the disciples. They was always talking about send them away. Haven't you learned from? You would have thought we would. That's why I said they was on the floor too.
All the time.
They was always on the floor. And I said, Lord, I don't want to stay on the floor because we got to get up off that floor.
But you think about it though, nobody was perfect but Jesus.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
So they were, even though they was his disciples and they were the chosen ones to walk with them and everything, God was working with them too, dealing with them too, you know what I'm saying? So I can kind of see why they probably were the way they were. Because, they didn't think about this. You even think about some of the stories that occur, say, whenever they was, on the boat.
Oh,
and
Lord.
They was all freaking out.
Peter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he like, everything good. But no.
When the storm came, because it's rocking.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, is he asleep? Jesus asleep?
Exactly.
Out of all this rocking that's going on? And he was calm there.
Exactly.
And just to know that you have a God that he's not dramatic. He doesn't just get, I don't want to say out of character, but he doesn't,
he just doesn't react the way we react
to situations.
Yes.
He's just like looking like, he just looking at us like,
I got this.
Why can't you trust that I got it?
Yeah.
I tell the seas to cease. I tell the wind to stop blowing.
Yeah.
I tell it to slow down. I tell the animals, I'm thinking, the lions did. And you think about all these stories and you're like, why do we still doubt?
Exactly.
Why do we still not believe that he can do it for us? Because you've seen it not do it for somebody else. Well, you don't know what that somebody else got going on.
Exactly.
And you don't know what God's plan is for that somebody else. You get what I'm saying? We can't always look over in somebody else's fence. Like the Canaanite woman, she wasn't looking over. She wasn't worried about nobody else.
Exactly.
She was focused. And that's one thing I enjoyed about her reading this story is her focus.
Mm-hmm.
Her focus was not on the disciple that spoke out.
Exactly.
Her focus was not even on the other people that was watching her. Like, who was she? She a Canaanite woman. You know, I'm pretty sure they knew who she was.
Yeah.
She's a Canaanite woman.
That's the reason why
She don't need worship. She don't need worship you, Lord.
Yep.
So why you
wasting your time?
Basically. So I'm like, our focus needs to, even though distractions come, because I'm thinking about a gun range at this time. You know, I know it sounds like it's off, but it's not. But when you at the gun range, and you can identify, when you're at a gun range, you have distractions. You got other people at other lanes shooting their guns, whether it be big or small, and it's loud, even though you have the little muffled things on your ears. But that can be considered a distraction for some. I know at times it used to be a distraction for me when I didn't have the extra ear stuff on. Then that stuff would kind of startle me, and you don't need to be startled and you got a weapon in your hand.
Exactly.
So you have, and even if you're shooting outside, you have the birds, you have other little stray animals that come along. You got the weather, you got wind resistant. You have a lot of distractions. You have a lot of distractions, but your focus needs to be on that target. And her focus was on the target of, my child needs deliverance. My child needs to be healed, and you are the one, the only one that can save. And I like, now that I'm talking to you about this, I like how Jesus chose to keep walking. Because if he didn't choose to keep walking, I wouldn't be able to see that by him choosing to walk, she kept going.
Yes.
And that's what we have to do. Even though he's silent with us, with our prayers that we go to him in secret about, with our issues that we go to him with secret about, even in the silence, we have to be okay, even with the silence, the silent moments. We have to be okay and know that, okay, I know he heard me.
Yep.
I know I don't have to keep praying that prayer over and over again, but I know you got, and I know you got my situation, however it even plays out.
Yes.
However it plays out. And we have to be okay with however it plays out, because it may not play out the way we desire or even prayed for it to play out.
Yes.
But God, at the end of the day, he got us. And at the end of the day, we have to trust him even with the situation. She trusted God with her child.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know when I was reading, that was pretty much the main thing. Like, are you willing to do something that you wouldn't normally do in order for your situation to change?
Yes.
And that was pretty much what she did. She knew that she had to trust in, God, trust in Jesus, that he would heal her daughter, because like we said earlier, she knew that the rest, obviously it was just obvious that these people that they were worshiping, these idols or whatever they were worshiping, wasn't doing anything. Because if that was the case, then she would have never got to the point where she was so desperate that she had to go and seek after the person that she knew and heard of had done things, in order for her daughter to survive, to live. And so she was just like so desperate that she was willing to do something that she wouldn't normally have done in order to get something done, in so many words, in which was delivering her daughter.
And you know what we do? I'm going to tell you what I do. What I used to do. I'm going to just say this much. I got my checklist of what I'm familiar with, which is Monica. And Monica can't save a hill of beans. Monica can't save nothing. But Monica gonna go by her checklist because she ain't trusting God with this situation. Well, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work either.
Oh, God. Yes.
20 years later. Well, Lord, I'm tired of going cycle by cycle. That was my life, y'all, for real. Cycle by cycle by cycle, the same thing over and over and over until he heard me. I know he saw me too. He saw me. He like, she ain't ready. I'm not even gonna answer. She's just gonna get silent moment because her heart ain't right. And God saw her heart. I believe that Jesus saw her heart, and he was like, he kept walking, but it's like, let's see. You know how we do our kids. Well, let's see if you you remember you heard about me.
Mm-hmm.
You probably seen and heard some things that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard about that what happened way over yonder.
Yeah.
That many years ago. And oh, now this situation so you need okay.
Mm-hmm.
So well, we'll see. We'll see how your faith is. Let's see. I'm not saying he said it like that, but I mean, I just like how I can see myself even in that same situation with raising my kids when they were younger, and they'll cry out, and I'm like, if it's real or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And he saw, and I believe he saw her heart, and he knew she was desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew even in her desperation, she still had faith and believed something that the people who he was coming to save didn't even believe.
Exactly.
So that's what I believe, that turning. He was like, you know what? I got you.
Mm-hmm. Especially after she said what she said.
And then she addressed him, thy son of David.
Mm-hmm.
What?
So you know me.
Yeah.
You've been doing your work.
You've been doing your research.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been watching from afar. You've been hearing folks say, you be like,
exactly.
She probably ain't said nothing out, amongst the people that worship whatever they were worshiping.
Yeah.
And she probably like taking note.
Exactly.
That's what we do. We keep it in our back pocket. We're like, take note just in case I might need this.
She was smart.
Yeah, she was, because she needed it.
Yes.
Because she knew whatever she was worshiping wasn't working. Mm-hmm. Her checklist, it wasn't working.
Exactly.
Her usual, her familiar place, it wasn't working. She had to, like you said, step out and do something that she's never done before.
Exactly. Yep. And I believe that we are living in a time today.
Say it.
That a lot of that is going on. It's, this happened umpteen years ago.
Yeah.
We got, still to this day, we have so many people who don't believe. I'm not knocking anybody in their faith and what they believe. That's your relationship with whoever you have a relationship with.
Absolutely.
But I truly believe that we're living in a time where we have a lot of people, just like this Canaanite woman, who are sitting back looking on the sideline, saying that, they believe in this and they believe in that, or they don't believe in this and they don't believe in that. But at the same time, they're taking notes because they'd be crazy not to.
They're curious.
Exactly. Curious. So they're taking notes and they're putting away in their back pocket. And I believe that there's going to be a time that people are going to be so desperate.
They're going to call
Think about this COVID situation. And yes, there's a lot of people who are falling away, for whatever the case may be. But more than likely, those people were people who was already straddling the fence anyway. That's my personal belief. But there's also been a lot of people who have ran to God and who have found newfound relationships with God, during this time, because they got so desperate, like, God, if you don't help me through the situation, whether it was just the fact that they was completely forced to stay in the house and be amongst people that they truly ain't even gonna be around, even though that's their family, and or whatever the case may be. They found themselves having to call out to God for help for a particular thing, or maybe, they lost their job and they really needed help with food and paying their bills and stuff like that. They found themselves having to be
they were
desperate enough to call out to God for help. And I truly believe that a lot of people were helped in that situation because of out of that desperate situation of COVID. They were forced to do that particular thing that they may have never done.
Absolutely.
If COVID hadn't hit. I personally have said in my heart that I feel like while COVID has been tragic in many different ways, I also feel that COVID has also been a blessing.
Yes.
In many different ways.
Yes.
It has caused many people to run to God like never before.
Yes.
Desperate enough to run to Him. And I feel that at the end of the day, just like He did with this Canaanite woman, He's going to get the glory from it all.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's always about Him getting the glory, not us.
Exactly.
We're just His hands and the feet in the earth.
That's
it's not about us. He chose us. He planted things inside of us to come for us to birth through and to be the example, for us to be the light while we're in this dark place, in this world, this place we call the earth. But it's also for us people to see our real lives see and know our transparency, some of the things that we've been through in life, and some of the things that we've conquered, but it's not us. It's God that's with us. We didn't do this on our own. We could not have done this on our own.
No.
Lord knows the things that I've gone through, the things that, my husband and I have gone through, my kids, it's not us. It's not us. And you talking about COVID for us, like you said, it was tragic in many instances in the world. People have lost their lives. Yeah, that's tragedy. Yeah, that's a sad time.
Yes.
At the same time, God even gets the glory for that, because we're all living, we all have a death sentence. We all are going to leave here one day, but Jesus came so that we all may be saved. Yes. That was his purpose, so we all can be saved. Forget about what the naysayers are saying.
Exactly.
Like the disciple at the time was saying, send her away. Why is she crying out, calling after us or crying after us? And forget about the naysayers. Jesus, he's a living example, living epistle. Well, he didn't even entertain what the disciple was saying. And that's something I would have probably did. I probably would have said, Joker, would you be quiet? But Jesus didn't even entertain. And I like how he just set the tone and he set the example for even us. That we've reading about it from thousands of years ago as to what happened and how we are supposed to be.
Yes.
And it's why entertain that? For what? What you gonna gain from that? Nothing at all. So why entertain the foolery?
That's right.
Why entertain something you can't control?
Yep.
Now he can control it, but he just chose to. He's showing us walking this earth. We're flesh. He was flesh at the time, and how we're supposed to deal with our situations.
Exactly.
Don't worry about the naysayers.
Yeah.
If that's not God talking,
it don't even matter.
Exactly. Don't worry about the people that say you can't do it. Because they're trying to tell, hey, look, he ain't got time for you today. No, don't worry about them people that tell, well, God gave me this vision, but I don't know if we was talking about something like that earlier. We talk and get conversation, we value our family and friends' opinions of others that we trust and that we love. And we go to them and get, information, or we go to them and talk to them about our whatever situation, whatever the instance is. And we want to hear what they have to say. Not necessarily saying we're going to go totally with what they're saying, but we value what people that are in our lives or in our circles, what they say. So, but we have to use wisdom and discernment at the end of the day when it comes to making a decision, because at the end of the day, what did God say?
Exactly.
God tell you to go forth. I don't know why I'm going by my checklist again, but ain't no need to be going by that checklist. I ain't gonna even ask you. You know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna even worry about it. But so God came to save us all.
Yes.
And his grace is sufficient. So when Galatians 2:21 says to not treat the grace of God as meaningless, for if keeping the law could make us right with God, then there was no need for Christ to die. This realization of our hopelessness should draw us to God's glorious forgiveness and power. And Hebrews 4:16 says to come boldly to the throne of a gracious God, where we will receive his mercy and find grace to help us when we need it most. And I think that's every day.
Every day.
I mean, I just heard about, what was yesterday? Friday? Well, I just heard about a bombing that happened in Ukraine. And I'm a visual person. I'm a person that, y'all may think I'm crazy, but I'm a person that thinks it don't matter. But I'm a person that thinks about it, like, what if I was in those shoes of those people? And, I heard somebody say something about, there was a text message sent from one of her friends in the Ukraine where she was trying to get back to the border and get her family out. And she said there's bombing going on everywhere around her. And I was just like imagining if that was me in that moment. I'm like having flashbacks, like if that was me, you know, but we just have to trust God.
Got to.
You know, we have to trust him with everything. Trust him with our lives. Trust him with our children. The one that, the family that he gave us, you know, it was so hard for me to trust God with my children. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it was. And I'm just having a transparent moment. You know, I don't want to say I didn't want to necessarily give my son back to God, but it was like I was afraid of what God would do, you know, because I said, God, you have your free will. But then I was like, oh, I don't know. What you mean? Like, what you gonna do? You gonna let him fall off the bike?
I know.
Is he gonna get hurt?
Yeah.
You know, hold on, God. Hold on. Wait. Don't let it go yet. Hold on, God.
Yeah.
So, you show me what you're gonna do. Like, so I didn't want to let the bike go.
Oh, my God.
I'm the training wheels for this boy. And I won't ready to let the bite go. I'm like, well, God, you know, just use an analogy, y'all. I'm honestly saying, I didn't trust God. I had some trust in God with certain situations, but I didn't trust him when it came to my children.
Now, was it that you didn't trust him, or that you just didn't trust that if you let him go and gave him back to God, or them,
what he would do,
like they would be able to make their way through that? Like, would they come back from whatever God allowed them to?
Exactly.
To go through.
That's what I'm saying. Like certain situations, like especially with my son, I was like, God, I give him to you. Oh, Lord, I give him to you.
I take him back.
Snot and tears and crying, Lord, I give him to you. But then I'm like, wait, what you gonna do? Is he gonna be hurt? Is he gonna break a leg? Is he gonna be paralyzed? You gonna kill him, Lord? You know?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like what I said with a different scenario, we have to be able to give it to him, leave it alone. I'm not gonna be the training wheels no more. Lord, you got him. You got him. But I gave it to him. Right before my son graduated, I was tired. And I believe this woman was tired. Going back to her, and I was like, I can see myself, you know, I can identify with her story because that was me, but it was a different situation. It was a different scenario. Well, I didn't want to, but I was desperate. Well, and I was tired of doing it my way. I cannot do it my way. And even though I had some solid moments from God, because I believe God wanted me to draw near to him. I believe that it was something that God wanted from me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, y'all, I'm so in love with God. You know how you stand in the church and say, tell God you love him. You know, the point in time I was saying, I love you, Lord. But did I really? You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you, but I love you, Lord. Yeah, I love you. But it didn't feel right because I knew in my heart and mind, did I really love you like I should? And I don't believe I loved him like I should because I had other things. I'm gonna say other gods before him, you know, such as my husband, such as my children. Oh, and then God, by the way.
I believe that we all go through that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
There's no way that we don't.
Yeah, or have not
exactly
experienced that.
There's no way. There's no way. Because
with me, just in the little time that I've been going through fighting my own little crazy battles, with nobody else, it's just me. And me talking to God, it's like, I can't explain what it is. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, you know, from him showing me this vision to not just that, it's just how I've became closer to him and how he's put things in my way, like as stumbling blocks, but it's not to keep me from him, but it's for me to step over that stumbling block and know that he's with me and he got me. I'm stepping over that and I'm going to conquer that. And it's not my power, it's his power, it's his might. that he gives that to me.
Yes.
And I have control over that because I have faith.
Yep.
I have faith that he's got me, and he not only got me, he got my kids too. And he got my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I put him in his hands, and I'm like, God, however you see fit.
Yep.
You do it. Even if it don't go the way I think it should go, I trust you anyhow.
Yep.
Because I trust, and we all say, we trust God, with our lives. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and she began to say, well, I wouldn't want my, oh no, that could happen for my daughter. I said, but you let it happen for you. Like, do we really know our worth? Like, and then while it's coming through my clay lips, and I'm telling her this, and I'm like, I used to think like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I want the best for my kids, but do you want the best for yourself?
Exactly.
You deserve the best too,
Yep.
not just your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve the best. Whatever, because we are the example.
Mm-hmm.
And we should show our kids that, I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me either.
Exactly. Yep.
At the same, because it goes around full circle. They're watching you.
Mm-hmm.
You're their first teachers.
All the time.
You're their first teachers. So if you telling them constantly, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, but they seen you doing that, and
Yes.
you teacher,
Yep.
you doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the old saying used to say, do as I say and not as I do.
Yes.
Nah, you can throw that, you can dismiss me with that.
Yep.
Because I want to tell my mom plenty of times, but I ain't want to get knocked across the head somewhere. She would tell me to go sit down somewhere after she done told my tail up. But at the same time, we are the example. We are the light.
Mm-hmm.
We are what says, he's given us power over all dominion. He has, he has given us the know-how to go forth and to keep it, not just keep enduring, but keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how she was persistent.
Yeah.
And she continued to persevere, even through the talk.
Yeah.
Even through the naysayer, because you're going to have the talkers.
Exactly.
So I think that's very important.
And then she just to add a little tidbit to that.
Okay.
But just like you were saying, as far as in being an example, setting an example, I even think about that with her. The fact that she persisted and she went forward and she did what she felt like she needed to do for her daughter. I don't know how old her daughter was, when I think about it, but at the same time, I know that there will be a time where she will have that conversation with her daughter about what was going on with her and how she was healed, who healed her.
Ooh.
And then within that in itself, she was actually setting an example for her daughter, because like we said earlier, even though they didn't believe in all this stuff, and all these people are constantly not believing, they sitting back and they be looking.
Yes.
And then whenever things like that occur, it's like usually it's gonna be a domino effect. This is what happened whenever my mother did this for me. Well, this is what I need to do.
Yes, exactly.
Going forward, I can't follow all the people around me, my kin folks and my friends and all this stuff. I think that this was a better example. Huh?
Exactly.
This is who I need to be following. So she said example.
And she's going to have a story to tell for, look how many years it's been that we're talking about the Canaanite woman with a desperate faith. And her daughter and her daughter's kids. And I don't know what lineage we are from her, but that's a lot. And we're still to this day talking about it. And we still to this day have issues that are similar to her situation. You may not be possessed with a demon, but at the same time, we know to call on Jesus when we need something. We know to call on Jesus when we in a car accident. We know to call. We know to call on Jesus when God, I can't do it.
Exactly.
I cannot do it. I have no control over this. I have no clue what's going on, and it's okay to not know what to do.
Yes.
Because love loves it when he loves it. I mean, when we're at that weak point, he says when you're weak, he's
strong.
He's strong. And then he also says he's the burden bearer.
Yep.
He said, cast your cares on me. Because what cares about? You telling me to get his weight to you? That's not me. Let me go ahead and give it to you then. Let me go ahead and get this to you then. Like, it's just that easy. But we make it difficult.
Yes.
And it don't have to be difficult. It don't have to be. And I love him for that.
Yes.
And I look at the scenarios in the Bible in the different situations, I'm just like, so you mean to tell me it's that simple?
Like, exactly. But even then, they made it hard.
And growing up as a kid, I thought it was so hard. Like, it was not doable.
And it's so easy. We just stuck in our ways and want to do things how we want to do.
Your checklist, there you go, on the floor with that checklist, wanting to do what you want to do.
That's it.
But we got to choose not our own, but we got to choose his way.
Yes.
And what he desires for us. And I love how we always need him. Just a few scriptures to go along with what we talked about communicating with God was prayer. And the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:17. And also when you go on down to verse 18, how it talks about giving thanks to God, we should always give thanks.
Yes.
Always, regardless of the situation.
Yes.
Regardless if the situation don't look good, regardless if it looks bad, regardless if it ain't going the way you planned it for it to go, it don't even matter.
God, I thank you and I trust you.
Yes.
That's what it should be.
That's what our prayer should be. Simple as that. God, I thank you and I trust you. And if you don't believe that, keep saying it.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep saying it like it's going to be medicine to your ears. Allow yourself to hear it. Yep. Absolutely. I strongly believe that. And you know how the young people say that's 100. What they say? Keep it 100. Keep it 100. Oh my gosh. How they say keep it 100? Well, that chick Faith was on 100. It was on a 10. It was like steroids. And that's how our faith should be in every situation. Yes. Every situation, we should always trust God, that he got us. But he tells us that faith, you can have the faith, but without works,
it's dead.
It's dead. She worked for that.
Yes.
In that little moment, we see it like, oh man, you can do that 5 minutes. No, you don't know how long it took her. But it don't even matter about that because God said his time, not our time, and his ways are not our ways. At the end of the day, she put the work in.
No, she did. She had to keep following him.
And he kept walking.
Yes.
Lord, I probably would have been tired.
Yeah,
rocks in my feet, laying up. It's probably hot. Who knows? It probably was hot.
I'm telling you, no, it was. I could see it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a movie. Lord, help me, my daughter. And he just look. I can imagine him just looking
silent
and just kept walking. What? And your entourage?
Yes.
Be away with her. Hey, sit down, wait. She cried after us. I ain't even asking for you. But she didn't even entertain him. Yeah. She saw the example that he set and she followed it. Ain't that something? Mm-hmm. She followed his example.
Exactly.
And she didn't entertain.
She didn't even entertain. She wasn't there for them. She was there for him.
Whew. And in a long shot, he was there for her too. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he's here for us. Mm-hmm. Don't it feel so good to have somebody that's in love with you?
That no matter what we do.
No matter what. Oh gosh.
No matter what we do.
Don't matter how long we stay on the floor.
No matter. He's still, when we come to him, he's always there for us.
He is. He is.
Always.
And that's what I love about him.
Oh, that just did something.
I'm so glad I'm not him.
Yes. That's awesome.
It is. This was a great session. You got anything else?
No, just no matter what things look like. Yeah. No matter how they seem, no matter what people say.
That's right.
No matter what, just no matter what. When you know what you know that you know, which is that God can do all things. Yes. Nothing is impossible for him. Yes. No matter who's in your ear or whatever the case may be, just know that God is always there. Know that God can always do anything. The secret will above all things that you can ask or think is in his word. So don't ever doubt whatever your situation may be, no matter how small it may be, no matter how big it may be, just never doubt that God can't deliver you, that he can't heal you in his own way, whatever healing may be. It might not be our way, but whatever the case may be, take it to God, take it to him, and just pray. And and after you pray, even whenever he is silent, just like it was, you still keep praying, you still keep pushing through, you still keep doing what it is that you need to do until things change. Until God give you the answer or whatever the case may be, but never give up.
That's right.
That's the whole thing. Never give up, and keep the faith and keep pushing forward.
And the only other thing I have to say in closing is, I think we all have problems that arise. We all have things that happen throughout life.
Yes.
But that problem is a problem. Mm-hmm. Allow Jesus to be the solution to your every problem.
Exactly.
You got a problem? That's your equation, the problem. He is your solution. And allow him to be the solution to every problem that you have. Mm-hmm. That's all we have from you today, from Voices of Substance. We love all y'all. Thank y'all for listening in. And thank y'all for watching.
Yes.
Love y'all. Have a good one.
Y'all. Goodbye. Be blessed.
Be blessed, and don't be on the flow.
Please don't be on the flow. We're going to explain that more a little bit later.
We'll explain a little bit later.
Episodes. Y'all get it.
Couple more episodes. We're going to explain how we got to the issue, how we got the situation about being on the flow. But just take it from us. Don't be on the flow. Yes. Just read between the context clues that we talked about today. Don't be on the flow. Please don't. Stay off the flow. We love y'all. Until next time.
Be blessed.
Be blessed.
That was it!
Oh my gosh.
That was good, Monica. That was awesome. The first time I was nervous, I ain't gonna lie. Then I got myself together.